How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Ruffle Rowlett, and welcome to a brand new video. Actually, this is a remake of a video I already made today, and now I have to redo it, which means probably nobody will see it because YouTube will not send out notification for it. I mean, it already didn't do the first time around, so it probably won't send this one out either. And majority of you guys, I'm not sure if you're going to even see it, but either way, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. We're doing this video again. Why are we doing this? Because I didn't realize my audio was all muted in the previous upload. I didn't realize that. I literally did not figure that out until afterwards. But ladies and gentlemen, either way, welcome back to a brand new video, guys. Today, we're taking a look at which Pokemon, which starter is the best starter for Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield, ladies and gentlemen. So if you guys are excited for this video, if you do enjoy it, you know, if you didn't understand anything from the last one, because, well, there was no audio there, you know, at least this one should make up for that issue, right? Now you should be able to hear what I have actually to say. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you do enjoy it, drop a like down below, yeah, let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen. So, with Sword and Shield, of course, as you guys know, we've had a few new things introduced. As per usual, there are new Pokemon introduced, right? And the new starters are, of course, Grookey, Scorbunny, and Sobble. And today I want to take a look at which one of these Pokemon, in particular, is the strongest one to use, right? So, of course, we've got Grookey, Scorbunny, Sobble, but we also have their middle stage evolutions, Thwackey, Dizzle, Sizzle, whatever it's called, and, of course, a Raboot. And then, of course, Cinderace, Inteleon, and Rillaboom. So, I'm going to take a look at each one of these one by one and take a look at their evolutions, all the stages, and kind of talk about which one is the best one. And, of course, this is, you know, me just trying to look at, like, you know, the logical aspect of this and, you know, which one would be the best. So please keep that in mind. I'm not trying to bash any of these Pokemon or say that one is worse than the other in terms of, like, you know, design or anything. This is more about usability. So either way, ladies and gentlemen, let's start with Grookey first of all, shall we? So, Grookey, ladies and gents, Grookey. What does it say about this Pokemon? Well, the biggest issue with Grookey really is its pure typing as it evolves, right? I mean, general starters having a base, you know, singular typing is not really that big of a deal, right? Like, this be just, you know, pure grass type to begin with. That's, like, you know, not the end of the world. But the problem is, as it evolves, it keeps that typing, which gives it a little bit of a problem. Other than that, though, Grookey is a pretty okay Pokemon. Though, out of all the starters, it is the slowest one, as you will see here. You know, Scorbunny's got about 69 speed, and, of course, you know, the Cinderace. And, of course, the last one here, which is, you know, I think the last one, if we can find it, which is Sobble, which we can't seem to get our hands on here, but there it is. So, as for Sobble, though, it has actually the highest speed. So, it is the slowest of the base, you know, base starter Pokemon, right? It's the slowest one. But as for its ability, though, you know, it's got some decent stuff here. So, we got Overgrow and we got Grassy Surge as its hidden ability. So, Overgrow. So, Overgrow increases the power of Grass-type moves by 50%. Essentially, all of these Pokemon have that same kind of, like, thing going on for them. Scorbunny has its own one, which I think is Blaze. And then, I think Sobble's got its own as well. So, they all got, like, this sort of, like, ability, which just kind of, like, boosts their Grass-type, or their stab moves, basically, which, you know, in this situation, I guess, is useful because this thing is pure grass type, so majority of its moves will be grass type moves. Of course, it will have other ones as well, but all these starters, by the way, are pure typing, so, you know, all of them have both, like, positive and negatives about them, but we'll get to more of that stuff first of all. Either way, Overgrow increases the power of grass type moves by 50% when the ability bearer's HP falls below a third of its maximum HP, known as in-game pinch. So, that is that one. Now, Grassy Surge, though, is the new hidden ability. So, effect. Grassy Surge creates a low-lying grass field, like the move Grassy Terrain. When the Pokemon enters battle, it restores the HP of grounded Pokemon each turn and increases the power of Grass-type moves. So, honestly, a decent, you know, a decent hidden ability, right? It's not, like, horrible. It's actually pretty fine. It's pretty okay for it. Honestly, it's not horrendous, to put it, like, in blunt terms, right? It's okay. I will say it's okay, right? It works. But as for its base stats, they're just pretty general, right? There's not much to really point out or put into perspective here. Now, as for the next part here, which is Thwackey, its evolution, this thing here, as you will notice, its attack is pretty high, actually. It's pretty decent. You know, special attack being low and whatnot, which makes sense, but its speed is about 80, so it's just, you know, trying to catch up to in that speed there. It still hasn't caught up to the other ones, you know, too well. It isn't, like, you know, at the level of the other two starters, but, you know, middle stage overall design wise, fine. I mean, I like Thwackey. I think it looks cool. But as for you know, stats wise, I mean, it just doesn't pace well, right? And since it's a pure typing still, it's a pure grass type, it still doesn't, you know, has all these weaknesses, you know, against it, right? So many things that it's weak against that can, you know, essentially take it out. You know, so it's never really like in a good position here. So, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, that's Twacky though. And of course, the final stage evolution, of course, which is Rillaboom, is of course the final stage here, which you will see has a pretty high attack. Its attack is pretty actually decent. But here again is the problem. You know, considering it has so many weaknesses like what fire, you know, fire, ice, poison, flying, bug. I mean, like it's a bunch of you know things it's weak against here. And like, you know, if it just had a secondary typing, it would make it a lot stronger. And again, I have nothing against Rillaboom. I know the majority of my, like, you know, my viewers actually chose, you know, Grookey, and a lot of my friends actually chose Grookey because they really like it, and they love Rillaboom, and that's totally fine. I'm just talking about, like, in general, it is probably the weakest out of the three. And it's not the worst, but it's just, you know, like, in general worst, like, but it's just, you know, out of the ones that exist there, this one has to be the weakest link, so to say, I think for now. But we'll go over the other ones first before we make a final judgment. So, next one is Scorbunny, ladies and gentlemen. The Scorbunny is a pretty all-around decent Pokemon, of course. It does have a few weaknesses as well, right? Of course, water, ground, rock, being some of those, but then again, of course, you know, it is pretty useful against a bunch of other stuff, right? Like, you know, it's a very strong Pokemon. Of course, same thing happens here, the same as with Rillaboom here, which, you know, again, Rillaboom's issue is there is no secondary typing. If it has secondary typing, it could be pretty decent, but since it doesn't have that, it's in a shitty spot. Whereas Scorbunny, though, is also in the same position, with only being, you know, a pure fire type, and, you know, as it evolves, the same situation happens there. But though it is a fast Pokemon, though, it is very quick, and its attack is pretty decent, so base stat-wise, it's pretty okay. As for Raboot, though, as it evolves, you know, here we have some interesting things, right? The speed does increase as well, which is great. And of course, you know, it stays as a pure fire type, but I guess it's like its attack and its speed just like balance out in a nice way. And also, as you play the game, as you will notice, like it does have a few like really good usabilities. And of course, if you compare all these starters as you start out with them in the first few gyms, right? I think Scorbunny and then Raboot and whatnot are probably the best ones for like an early run, because the first gym you take on is Mailloux, and you can speed through that, and also you can speed through a lot of the wild area against a lot of the Pokemon around you pretty easily, just using fire type moves and just kind of like, you know, slapping through everything. Of course, that doesn't mean that you can't do it with all the other Pokemon you have as well, or like the other starters with Sobble and Grookey as well. You can, but I noticed that with Scorbunny, it was pretty straightforward. It wasn't that, you know, difficult. And of course, the first gym is a breeze because, you know, you got a fire type. But, you know, that's just like a little bit of an advantage there. But then as you know, take on the next gym, it's Nessa, so there you will struggle. And then Kabu will be a little bit 50-50. Whereas with, you know, if you take Sobble, for example, you will struggle against the first gym, you know, maybe. But, I mean, there's not really any major struggle in this game, if I'm going to be honest. Like, you can pretty much get through anything. Just do a little bit of extra grinding in the wild area and you'll be Gucci. But, you know, if we're talking general, you know, general terms, this is the Pokemon that you can get through the early parts pretty decently well. The best, I would say. But how do we look at it, you know, towards the end? Well, Raboot is good, but how do we look at Cinderace? Well, Cinderace gets, like, pretty darn strong, I will say. Its attack is pretty decent, and its speed is freaking great. It is actually really good. And, of course, its, you know, weaknesses are still there, but, you know, because of the pure typing, of course, the species being a striker Pokemon, which makes, you know, makes it pretty cool with its brand new, like, you know, moves and stuff that it's been introduced to it. But, again, you know, it's pretty decent, but what is it that makes this Pokemon even maybe potentially better, I would say, which is the hidden ability, which is why I think this one might be slightly better to me than you know, Rillaboom. The reason I think that is because Cinderace's ability, hidden ability, Libero, changes the Pokemon's type to that of its previously used attack. So if you have a Cinderace with like a flying type move, and let's say you want to take out a Pokemon that's weak against flying types, right? If you have a flying type move on it, like for example Bounce, I think that's one of those that you can use. It will change essentially its typing. As far as I understood, like the hidden ability, it'll actually change its typing to that, which means I guess you will gain some you know, like you will get like you'll get stab on that move then afterwards, which is great, right? So if you use Bounce twice in a row, you'll like the second time around, it will be a lot stronger. So that honestly is pretty great. Like that is actually a pretty great hidden ability, I will say it. It's actually pretty freaking awesome. But does it stack up against like the other ones? Well, we haven't gotten to the last one yet, so we'll go over like, you know, which one has the better ones at the end. But let's go to the Sobble, the last Pokemon, which is Sobble, next here, and that's of course the water starter for this generation, the water lizard Pokemon. So it's got of course Torrent and of course its hidden ability, which is Sniper. So Torrent, first of all, increases the power of water type moves by 50%, and that's the same thing with you know, over here with, you know, Cinderace and whatnot, like, you know, with Blaze and like with Scorbunny. Blaze does the same thing for fire type moves. It's just increased by 50%, so makes sense. But as for this this lad right here, as for you know, Sobble, man, I don't really know what to say, but like this thing is strong. Okay, first of all, it outspeeds, as far as I can tell, it outspeeds Scorbunny as you'll see right here, it's got like a base speed of like speed of 69 here, whereas this one's got 70. And as it evolves, I think it keeps that speed being like above Score Buddy by a lot. So when it goes into Drizzile, it actually has I think again like it outspeeds Score Bunny. So I think Raboot has like what 94. Actually no, so Raboot actually outspeeds an evolution, but early on it is slightly faster, so that's interesting. But again, it makes sense that Raboot would be faster because it's like kind of a little bit slimmer and you know, just looks a little bit more fast and like, you know, more athletic, so to say. But then we go to Cinderace here and we go to Inteleon. We compare the two. So Cinderace, for example, has 119 speed, whereas this one has 120, so it does outspeed actually. And also you know, considering Cinderace you know, is a fire-type Pokemon, so like I guess like based on the moves I've seen so far in it, it really depends on what you kind of like, you know. The Pokemon's really like a little bit of an iffy one to me, but if you can get a good nature on it, you can pretty much have a pretty strong Pokemon in your hands. Whereas with Inteleon, I mean, look at this thing, bro. Its special attack is 125 and its speed is 120. Now, of course, its defensive stats are going to be like the biggest issue for it, right? It's not going to be having a lot of like defense to work with, but this is a very speedy Pokemon. If you get a good nature on this thing, like you've got a monster in your hands. And of course, the thing that makes it even bigger a monster is actually its hidden ability, which is Sniper. Now, Sniper increases the power of critical hits by 1.5, okay? This means a critical hit will deal 2.25 normal damage instead of 1.5. That is actually insane. This thing is, so when you critically hit, you'll do more damage than normal, 1.5 more, you know what I mean? That's just nuts, you know what I mean? That's like just really, really freaking good. Like that is actually pretty freaking great. So I don't really know. I don't really have a, you know, criticism about that one. I would just want to say like, damn, that is like, that's nuts. That's actually like straight up nuts. So, yeah, it's a great hidden ability, and I think that's what makes Inteleon to me probably the strongest out of these. And you gotta remember, by the way, Cinderace is my favorite. Like for me, Score Bunny and Cinderace and Raboot are my favorite starters out of these. But I will say honestly, like I think Inteleon slightly outpaces them by just like a small margin. I mean, you know, I think Cinderace is an all-arounder, like as an all-arounder, a bit stronger. You know, like as an all-around Pokemon is better. But I think Inteleon in general is probably the stronger one in this choice. So I will say honestly that the best out of these three is probably the Secret Agent Pokemon, Inteleon. I actually think this is the best one out of them. Now, of course, it can all vary based on situation, but I think out of all these, this might be the strongest one. I mean, its weaknesses, you know, really are only two things, right? What, electric and grass. It's the only thing it's weak against, whereas, you know, Cinderace might be dealing with a little bit more, right? One extra, because it's got, like, water, ground, and rock to deal with, whereas this one's got less, and then, of course, Rillaboom's got the most to deal with, you know, in terms of things it's weak against. But, man, I don't know, this is a pretty strong Pokemon, and it also counters Cinderace, you know, Cinderace straight away, so it actually is pretty darn great. So, I don't know, man. I mean, this is a strange one. Honestly, this is a really strange one. So, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, let me know in the comment section down below, guys. What do you think about that? I think Cinderace is definitely, like, a strong contender, but I think Inteleon outpaces it. Even though it's my least favorite out of all the starters, like, Sobble is my least favorite, I still think this is probably the best one in terms of strength, most likely. So, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be the end of the video, guys. If you disagree, let me know in the comment section down below why and what you think about which, in your opinion, is the best one. And, yeah, let me know in the comment section down below. Thanks for watching. Have yourselves a great day, and bye-bye, ladies and gentlemen.